So for the purposes of the demo here, I have the tool already unzipped on my C drive here at C drive KB import, and this is our executable. So this is what the knowledge tool actually looks like. And you'll notice I also have Word Cleaner 5 already installed. And when you first launch this, we're going to default the path to Word Cleaner to be the default installation path of Word Cleaner. Now, if you've installed it anywhere else, you can simply just change this, modify it, and it will identify correctly. But I've got it installed to the default path, so we're all good. And then I also have here a directory that just contains my my documents to be imported. So for the sake of this demo, what I have here are 2 Word documents that show off some different features that we facilitate with this import. And where is it? There we go. So this one here, basically generated just by one of the out-of-box templates that Microsoft Office provides, just to show some advanced formatting. So we got colors, table structures, and some advanced kind of formatting of this calendar down here at the bottom. And then our other one is another standard template that they provide that is just an invite. And so we're going to use this just to demo the idea of how images are compatible. So what we need to do is we need to make a copy of our destination to our directory containing our documents. We copy that in there. We can add, at this point, everything's optional, but we can add additional layers of metadata to add some sophistication to our knowledge articles, say if there's a particular role or workflow or category that we want. We can also preserve legacy numbering systems here. But just for the sake of the demo, we won't do that, and we'll select to generate this in comma separated values format. And so it's going to go through, identify the folder, and then it will basically open up Word Cleaner and knock these files off one by one, and it just quickly generates our zip file for all of our images, and then our CSV file. So we'll go ahead and download both of these. It also downloads or generates another file here for category. This is good if you're using some of the additional functionality here to add some more robust metadata, but again, for the sake of this demo, we'll skip that one. So at this point, again, everything has been external from ServiceNow, but we now have 2 files that are prepped for import. So what we'll do is we'll go to our instance, and we'll navigate to load data, because I've chosen the CSV path. And we'll create a new import set, knowledge import table, and we'll find our file, and it's on the first worksheet. The first row is our headers, so we'll hit go. All right, so we successfully imported our 2 knowledge articles into our staging area here. So what we got to do now is create our transform map. So knowledge import table. And we'll identify our knowledge table, KB knowledge, and then we basically just have to do auto map matching fields, and that will automatically identify the 2 fields that need to be matched. So what we're matching is a short description, which we're getting from the file name, and then text, which is going to be our formatted HTML. So we'll hit transform. Everything's successful. So now let's have a look in our knowledge base, and we'll see our 2 articles here have been generated. So we have our invite and then the event scheduling. So let's just look at the scheduling planner first and see if that formatting came over appropriately. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So let's view the article. Yep, so we can even see how some of the more advanced formatting that is available with Microsoft Word, for example, comes over and is supported just fine. Now let's go have a look at the one with the images, which is our invite. All right, so let's have a look at this one. Okay, so we see our images hasn't come over, but the rest of the formatting looks pretty good. Now, that's because we haven't yet imported our images. So what we'll do is we'll go image, we'll go image zip upload, and we will identify the zip file that contains all of our images. And we upload that. And see they come in nice and clear, so we have basically a placeholder for our logo and our main image. So nice ice cream, which is way too cold to eat right now. And we'll go to our knowledge base again and pull up our invite document. And we see that the images come over nice and clear there as well. So there you go. That's a quick demo of the functionality. Again, we're looking to expand on this and build specifically on the supported documents that the tool can handle. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it and look forward to some feedback. With that, Mike, I'll pass it back over to you.
Great. Thanks, Dustin. So we actually had a question come in, and it's a great question. Thank you, Fernando, for presenting this to us. Fernando's question was, what versions of ServiceNow is this tool compatible with? Is it compatible with Calgary and above? Later releases only? Could you answer this question?
Sure. So actually, the knowledge import tool, this is the second iteration of it, and the only feature that we'd be looking at kind of ServiceNow versioning to be an issue would be that last piece of importing the images. And so that, I'm not entirely sure, but that might be Calgary and above. However, this was initially created back in 2011, so back on kind of the June releases or whatever the naming was back then. And so there's another path that's available for more kind of legacy generations of ServiceNow.
Great. Thanks, Dustin.
Sure.
And Fernando, hopefully that answered your question. If folks have any follow-up questions, this slide is a perfect segue to letting you know that you can email us at info@fruitionpartners.com and go ahead and ask your follow-up questions. We'd be more than happy to answer those accordingly. So again, we're sitting at about 17 minutes past the hour. Obviously, this was a quick webinar today. Originally, we were scheduled for 30 minutes. So we have some extra time now where we can take some questions from the audience. Dustin, I guess the good news is that the demo with the demo being quick, it's kind of an indicator of how simple the tool is, right? So.
Yeah, and that nothing broke during the live demo, so that's always nice.
All right, so we do have a couple questions coming in. Thanks everybody for participating. So one of the questions is, how much does the tool cost? And that's probably a common question from a lot of you. The answer to that is to be determined. We are planning on making the Knowledge tool available on the ServiceNow App Store when they launch that in April. Exact date of the App Store launch is to be determined as well, but I believe ServiceNow is planning to do that in sync with the big Knowledge conference in Vegas. So our Knowledge tool should be up on the App Store around that time. However, in the meantime, we are taking requests for folks to be part of our, if you want to call it, controlled availability program or pilot program. Folks who are interested in, getting a little more hands-on with the tool until it's officially available on the App Store. So, if you are interested in participating or being a member of that program, again, please send us an email to info@fruitionpartners.com, and we'd be more than happy to accommodate your request. So just going down the list here, again, thank you to everybody for asking your questions. Dustin, this is for you. is it possible to import HTML, XML documents with duplicated external image names across a data set?
Yeah, so what the tool does is it basically creates its own naming convention for all the images that it generates. It does that by basically matching up with the title of the document and then appending certain numbering system to make the images unique. So whatever the naming is internally in the tool, it doesn't matter.
Okay,
The tool will
great.
create its own.
Great. And again, if you're not happy with the answer you're getting, send us a follow-up email. We'll be more than happy to have a private conversation with you. Next question. Is the text in a document searchable?
Searchable within ServiceNow.
I believe so, yes. Let's go ahead and answer it in that capacity, and if we need to follow up, we can.
Yeah, so actually it is either way. Whether you attach the article to a knowledge record or you have the body come over through this conversion that we've just highlighted, it's still searchable within ServiceNow. Obviously easier to do so once converted and handled within the tool.
Great, thanks, Dustin. A simple follow-up question was, what formats can we use again?
Sure. So the supported formats at this point are doc, docx, ODT, RTF, text, HTML, and HTML.
Thanks, Dustin. And just a quick note, apologies, I may have failed to mention this at the beginning of the webinar, but today's webinar was recorded. So a recording of the webinar along with the PDF of the deck will be shared with you via email sometime next week. Also, the recording will be posted to our website, fruitionpartners.com, sometime next week as well. So you will have access to both assets in the near future. So hopefully that'll help folks out who are interested in learning more. I know some of the instruction that we covered today was pretty detailed. A couple more questions, Dustin, that have come in. One is, how will it import embedded objects? And the example given is a Visio flowchart.
I'm not quite sure. I don't that wouldn't be supported, especially something like Visio because of the limitations there. That is an interesting test case, and we'll certainly add that potentially to our feature list.
Next question, is there a limit on the number of documents you can import at once?
No, there is not. So we've used this originally, kind of the business case that this was generated by, with several clients coming to fruition and saying something along the vein of, I have 20,000 knowledge articles that I need imported into a new ServiceNow instance, or we're just starting our knowledge management application. And we don't want to start from scratch. So how do we get these in? So we've run this on directories containing upwards of 20,000, 30,000 knowledge articles, and then you can see it's scalable down to just the two that we ran today as well.
Thanks, Dustin. Regarding documents, how many can we upload at once? This kind of runs in parallel. Question is there a limitation on the document size?
No, there's not. So same answer, I guess. The scalability handles that. You'll get a much larger file that results of it. It might take a little longer to process extraordinarily large Word documents, for example, but that is totally fine.
Great. Let's do a couple more questions, if you're up for it, Dustin.
Sure.
Excuse me. The question is, if you have a high number of documents to be imported, and all of the images are extracted, how does the program know which images go with which document?
Sure. So again, we make a unique name for all of our images based on the title or the name of the file, and then we append certain numbering, basically the order in which the application sees that in its processing of the Word document, for example. And then we go through once everything's been converted to HTML, we go through all of the image tags to identify and basically swap out whatever the image name is now and swap in our unique names there. So that way we have uniqueness within the file itself and everything is identified correctly, but then we're safe from collisions as well, because all of the file names need to have unique names themselves, so that's basically the basis for our uniqueness as well. So it covers us inside of one document and then compared to all of the other ones as well.
Thanks, Dustin.
Sure.
So we'll wrap things up with one more question here. I realize we probably did not get to all of them today. So again, be on the lookout for a personal follow-up after the webinar this week. Thanks again to everybody for participating and being so inquisitive. Definitely appreciate that. So our last question for today's webinar is, how do you import attachments like a zip file or an exe file?
I mean, those wouldn't be supported as knowledge articles themselves. You could attach a knowledge or a zip file or an executable to an existing knowledge article just by leveraging the attachment functionality that comes out of box with all records within ServiceNow. So that could be supported, and then there's the ability to make those visible for knowledge articles that are being viewed by end users. But there wouldn't be a way to translate something like a zip, or certainly not an executable, because it's not even real context into a knowledge article body itself. But you can certainly attach them.
Great. Thanks, Dustin.
Sure.
So with that being our final question, we'll go ahead and wrap things up here. I do want to emphasize one more time that today's webinar was recorded. So you will be getting the email sometime early next week with the recording and the PDF of the deck, which will both be very helpful resources. Also, the recording will be available on our website as well sometime next week. So check back often to see when that's posted. Thank you to Dustin for sharing his knowledge today and doing a cool demo of the tool. A special thanks to all our webinar attendees today. Very excited to see interest around knowledge management and the knowledge tool. So I'll leave it at that. If you are interested in attending future Fruition Partners webinars, details are always up on our website. I will let you know that our next webinar is scheduled for March 12th, and we will be doing another demo. It will be a product demo with NextSync, which is a certified integration partner of ServiceNow's. I think a lot of you out there are familiar with them. So if you're not, though, that would be a great webinar to join March 12th. So I hope to see everybody there and enjoy your weekends. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, folks.